Oh, it feels good this morning, doesn't it? Big change from last week. And this was the game that I was very worried about heading into round 24. And given it was the first one of the week, it could easily have destroyed my week, especially. And there are a lot of players that do have DCE, a lot of fantasy coaches there. And they're obviously in the same boat as myself last week. And it's just always just frustrating in that first week when you pick someone and they don't live up to what you'd hope they would, especially against a lesser team, and everyone else does a lot better. And we got very lucky last night, to have one try assist only, and the rest of the work was done through that base. And the week before he only had a very low number of meters gained, and kick meters were right down as well. In this one here, there's still some negatives. There's a couple of missed tackles. There's 3 errors involved in that. A couple of very errant passes anyway from a couple of his teammates. But yeah, this was the game that we needed, and it ended up being an 88. So another week where the Thursday night game hasn't updated, which is frustrating. So I'll try and go through the majority of those guys that I know what scores they ended up. But yeah, DC ended up with an 88, 10 tackle breaks in this one, and shows the difference because as I said last week, there was very limited on the run meter side. Everything looked really discombobulated for the Manly guys, and it was much better, especially in that first half. And we'll get to the second half in a second with that kick, but yeah, it just showed that this is a week maybe where he knows that he has to try a lot harder. Defensively, the other team can do things a little bit differently as well. And you see here a few of the times there, guys are hunting out of the line. You see Stephen Crichton a few once or twice there hunting out of the line to try and get him. And he likes that sort of broken play there where he can sort of step in and out of it and get some offloads, get some tackle breaks in at that. Whereas defensively that didn't happen last week at all. It was just very hang back, and he would sort of run to the line and pass it off to players. And I think it was just a bit of an off game all in all there. So to get an 88 against Panthers is absolutely incredible and not something we expected. So we have to take the good with the bad, that's for sure. So that's DC there. And this game, as I said, was very much in the balance for the first half at 12 all. And then in the second half there, things got bad, really, from the time that Garrick made that kick. The force and backs ended up being, and Panthers scored off that play. So from that point onwards, I think they understood that they'd stuffed up, and then they really had nothing in that second half. And we know Panthers are very much a second half team when they turn on the screws and they get through their work, and that's exactly what happened in this one here. So obviously Panthers not playing as well as they have for a lot of the year, but they still always find a way to get the job done. Away from home in Brookvale is obviously always fairly hard, and with Manly's season on the line, they weren't able to get the job done. But Toffa Sipley there with a solid, really solid score with a try, obviously at 47 minutes for 62. As I said, DC, the 88 is massive. Cleary ended up at 63. So again, a game where he was involved, obviously tried to run the ball plenty, but none of the times they end up taking his bait in his dummy there. They always got onto him, but big kick meters from both sides. So yeah, for the most part, errors were not crazy. Like you see here, that a lot of the top players, there's a few errors in there, and a couple down below, but the game was still very free flowing there, with a few of the guys still getting some decent tackle numbers, with Lockie Croker the 48, with Isaiah Yeo the 40 there, and a bunch of high 20s and 30s from Cogger as a half there, getting 30, so getting more than some of the middle forwards. So across the board was a pretty free flowing game as I said, and defensively pretty good, as to show that they was able to get massive kick meters. So thankfully, that happened for Cleary, but absolutely no attacking stats here, and 63 for him. For those that captained other players, 63 is probably about par at the moment. So if you can get a higher score from SJ or Hines that you're looking at, you'd be pretty happy with a 63 from Cleary as captain against the lowly Manly boys at the moment. Isaiah Yeo ended up at 63 as well. So just another workman-like performance from Isaiah. Ended up getting a missed tackle taken away. I think getting up to 41 tackles and maybe a little few more running meters. I can't remember there from there, but he ended up at 63 there. If you got him, happy with that output. It's pretty well where he's priced at, a little bit above that, I believe. So great stuff from him, just right on his average. Taruva with that long range try worked out well. Olakuatu, he did look really strong in this game. Big run meters, thankfully, and he should be doing that each and every week because he's such a damaging ball runner. Stephen Crichton, the big couple of tries and a try assist was good for him. On that left side, you had To'o with the try as well. Just continues to go about his work with no errors there, which is awesome. Garrick ended up with a 50. So, yeah, overall, a very, very good game from him in this type of matchup. and we'll thank him for the kick meters, but Manly won't be thanking him for the big kick downfield. And if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It was in whenever Taruva scored that try, close to the 50th minute or just before, where it all unraveled for Manly, that's for sure. But 50 for him, we'll take that as well. I end up looping him, so his score is not counted at the moment, but I've got Drinkwater in the wing fullback slot, so Garrick will slot straight in to that later on in the week, whenever it ticks over. But yeah, Fisher Harris there with 42. If you did pick up Lockie Croker, which I know a couple of people did, obviously all basically in tackles in this one. Sorensen got a try assist here and ended up at 42 is where he ended up. But yeah, so for him to get a try assist and offload a couple of tackle breaks there and still only get the 42, the minutes was the slight worry with Jamin Salmon coming on. And to be honest, I think Sorensen deserved a rest in this one because he's been playing the full 80 for a long time now. So good stuff to Sorrow. But yeah, if you do own him, it's a little bit of a tough one. Thankfully, it's still over a 40 and not sitting around that 30 mark in lower minutes that, sometimes like Hoskins got in those bigger minute games, in those 65-minute games where he's got like a 30, 35. Just not having the attacking stats that Sorensen had. So yeah, if he didn't have that try assist, it could have been a lot worse, obviously. Jake Trbojevic, he's going to be pretty cheap next year. He's had a few low ones in a row there. Schuster with a few tackle breaks there, but again, wasn't able to impact the game too much. And that intercept, obviously ran plenty of meters in that and then decided to kick when he had To'o up against Parker. So I think it was a complete brain snap, unfortunately, on zero tackle. Just take the tackle, bro, or give it to Parker and let him take the tackle. Yeah, anyway, that's another reason, another way that the Manly could have won this game if they got a couple got that right. Potentially good score in that play, in that set, and then not do the kick back to a team that's terrific in open play. And that's the thing with that play. I don't know why it was such a thing back in the day, because maybe the guys weren't as athletic or something like that. Because as soon as you got broken play, that's when tries are scored. So yeah, a bit of a shocker. They obviously weren't ready for it defensively. Dill Edwards to 33, I believe 37. I think he went up to. So yeah, I suppose you're taking that likely in the wing fullback slot. Like you're not going to play a Kotrick or something like that over him. So you can work that out. 37's playable, but if you've got a very strong 17, you might want to leave that out if he's like your 18th man in this one. But no attacking stats, only the 3 or 4 tackle breaks, whatever it ended up. And 205 meters. So Edwards just a really tough season in the end he's coming in towards. So the thing is for next year, guys, at a 46 average, he's still going to be priced in the 600s. He's right down to a 501. He'll get even lower than that, just because of how poor he's been the last bunch of weeks. And yeah, it could be an interesting one if he gets into around that late 500s or something, a 600k mark next year. That could he start the same like he did in this one? Liam Martin, for those who are talking about him, he has that 40 average for a reason. He's very up, he's very down. So he'll get a 50 odd 60, and then he'll go pretty low in this one here in a 29 and a full 80 minutes, which is wild that how dominant he can be in Origin, and they use him much very differently to how they use him at Penrith here. Like for him to have one tackle break, no offloads, and only 83 meters is really wild because, I suppose maybe with Martin, you can kind of save him a little bit. I don't know. He kind of just plays at like a solid first grade standard, and then maybe come finals time when they use, like the Cowboys use Cotter and Taumalolo more. That's when they come out to play and really dominate. So yeah, strange. Cotter obviously down to 26. Of course, he misses to be fair, he was up against Olakau'atu, but misses 6 tackles here, which he was not doing at all when he was the dominant playmaker and absolutely smashing it when I didn't own him, but that's fine. Kepi comes in. He seems to just try and lift people all the time and just put shots on, so he looks like he's a walking penalty and sin guy the whole game. What about the back to normal from Tolu Kola, unfortunately for him? So he had a really, really poor year. Like he got all the way down into the 300s and then had 2 massive weeks in a row. And then, 1 or 2 people grabbed him and now he's back to that 18 and 20 each and every week. What about Sonny Luke? He's been very much a disappointment this year, hasn't he, on the fantasy side? He's well into the 220 mark. To be fair, averaging 18.6, he's fairly close to going above that 220 because I think 220 is a little bit lower than that average anyway. But yeah, he got big minutes in this one with 49, and Somerton sounded like he was an ankle injury. He ended up coming back in the last little bit and getting back on the park. So it obviously, I don't know what they did, strapped it up, made it feel a little bit better, gave him some painkillers or something, and he came back out. But that was that with him. We had some injuries, unfortunately. Brad Parker went down. He got whacked in the head, like a head slam kind of thing. And then we had Ben Trebojevic off as well. So both those guys failing their head injury assessment. So another 2 players for Manly that are copping it, and they're getting decimated by injuries at the moment. Very, very upsetting for them. I think Dean Madison did solidly out on the out in the centers there for a guy that he had a few good hits out there. Up against a really strong team, and makes it very, very difficult. But that's that. And then Jacob Arthur came on and worked hard for his 10 minutes. When he came on, he got introduced because of the 2 guys that got taken off for head injury assessment. So that's our first game, guys. As I said, it's nice to take the good with the bad. We're averaging 65 now over the 2 weeks with DCE, which is more than I could have hoped for. And we got through the really hard game, and now from here, he's got sort of a medium game next, and then it's like the Dogs and Tigers, or Dogs and Dolphins or something to finish, coming up for DCE and these Manly boys. So very, very happy with how this has ended up, and wish you all plenty of luck for the rest of the weekend. Hopefully we can all make some rakes.